Campaign season in Nigeria when the good, the bad and the ugly political games are on display. One of these is sharing of items to woo the electorate. The governor of Anambra State, Professor Charles Soludo, has described such acts and empowerment programs by some politicians as phantom charity. According to Professor Soludo, sharing bags of rice to youths is not empowerment, but donation of food items. The governor said his administration is focused on a process of productive empowerment in which they will teach people how to fish rather than giving them fish. Bikil, do you agree that this is phantom charity?
I don't even, in the first place, I don't see this as simply charity. I see it as a continuation of the vote buying process. Vote buying does not happen on election days alone. In fact, they are so wise now that they start buying people's conscience weeks to the election. We'll recall that in the last Osun governorship election, some people were supplied with rams, just so that they can have the privilege of killing ram during the Salah celebration. And the same people were serviced in the days leading to the election itself. So it's now, because elections have become much more difficult to compromise in our country as we continue to embrace digitalization. Politicians have now devised other methods of winning the election, which is to buy people's conscience, buy votes in the real sense of the word. So it's not charity. They are doing it because, in my view, charity is simply something that you do with a free heart.
And not
you do it because it's necessary for you to do it. But when you give people money, as we approach an election, there's no way. That's not the definition of charity. It's not charity. It's meant to buy their conscience. It's meant to buy votes at the end of the day. So some will be given bales of cotton, what the outside people will call wrapper. They'll give them. Some could be even motorcycles. It's not charity in my view. It is buying people's conscience, and the Nigerian politicians are doing it on an incremental basis. So, on election day, the competition will be stiffer because everybody will be sharing money. But they've now realized that the candidate who begins to do it earlier stands a good chance of winning the election. So I agree that if you want to empower people, you have to teach them skills that will make them to be capable of standing on their own, self-sufficient, skills that will enable them to feed themselves so that they won't be dependent on you. I agree that is the way to go. But what these politicians are doing, in my view, is not charity. When you give people food for the purpose of getting them to support you, it's not charity. You are buying their conscience. It's still part of vote buying.
All right, and to buttress Bikil's point, analysts have called this political weaponization of poverty with greater implications.
I just took the words off my mouth. Minimum salary in Nigeria, minimum wage in Nigeria is 30,000 naira, which they are not paying, which many governments are not paying. Somebody sent me a video of the pastor of Christ Embassy. And he says that Politicians will never come up with policies that will take the people out of poverty, that will make you as good as themselves. They will always do things to keep you at that level. And this thing is not new. In 1980, something, I was in the East. And somebody wanted to, during the Babangida era, to become a senator. And he was campaigning. He's a senator, he just died early this year. I don't want to mention, he's from Imo State. He just died early this year. And he was bringing cows and bags of rice to NTA, to the staff of NTA Aba, which was part of Imo State at that time. He knows that civil servants are not well paid, as at that time. And then when he became a senator, he never said, listen, let's recalibrate salaries. Let's run this country well. Rather, he was one of the people, he was a major agent for scuttling the June 12, 1993 election with his Association of Better Nigeria. Yeah. What I'm trying to tell you is that what BK was saying is correct. This is a class war. Our politicians are oligarchs who want to remain in charge forever at the top. And they will induce you. Sometimes they say they empower you, they give you keke napek. The worst part, if a governor, a sitting governor in one of the biggest states in the north, I don't want to embarrass him, was about 10 years ago, about some years ago, was donating, listen, bread, Bonvita, margarine to some people. He says he's empowering them to go into business. What kind of, you are retaining them at poverty level. What is happening is that there's what is called digital economy. It used to be called new economy. The new technology is defining the economy, is defining the workplace. Rather than get our people to be able to be active players in that kind of environment, you are giving them rice, bags of rice, to do what? Then when they finish that rice, what happens next?
All right, Biko. It's interesting that this comment is coming from a governor whose colleagues use this exploitative means to cajole poor Nigerians every 4 years. To what extent do you think this comment would help?
Oh, it's a good thing that he has condemned what his colleagues are doing, and he is promising a productive skill acquisition scheme that will take a lot of the young people out of poverty, that will empower them in the real sense of the word. Because once you are taught a trade or some skills that you can actually use to feed yourself, the bigger problem has been solved for you. It's like what they are doing in the NYC camps these days. You are not doing this when we were doing youth service. Teaching people, they bring people to teach these core members all kinds of trades and skills. They teach them how to do tie and dye. And you know, and the NYC does it so well that even products of such training, who themselves were core members some years back, they are brought back to teach core members how to do it. And they tell their own stories. I said, look, I was like you. Today, I'm on my own. I have so many people working under me. I've seen evidence that this kind of skill acquisition schemes can actually be a game changer, can turn lives around, can really change a lot of things for these young people. I interviewed one of the guests who read international relations at UNILAG, and she said, look, with what I've been taught here, she was taught in the interior decoration class. And she said, look, with what I've been taught here, I don't intend to work in a
There's
bank.
a lot of money there.
I don't intend to work in a bank. I just want to be, I would like to be on my own, employ people to work under me, and just get by. So it's a good thing to teach people skills that can make them entrepreneurs in the future, not simply to be donating rice to people, even and the next day they are hungry again, you know. So when people see that you got a bag of rice the other day, those of them who are not fortunate to get, they will come and start knocking on your door. It's like even announcing to your neighbors that you are now a little better than them. So at least the way our politicians do behave every election season is just terrible.
All right.